All right, Shalom. Before I continue with this lesson, I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakakwadash, double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. I'm the brother lawyer, and I teach the great millstone Nashville Camp. Come back with a quick lesson. And this lesson will be entitled, well, shit, I might even change the title, so I ain't going to say that. But this is why we continue in the doctrine. As you see, this sister was, murdered in Mississippi. And of course, she was found murdered the old fashioned way of how they like to hang Jake, by well, I just said it, damn. But yes, so she was found hanging. And this is why we continue this is why we continue in the doctrine, because it's true. The doctrine that we teach is true. What's true about it? Well, we keep telling you that these so-called white people, not all of them, but for a vast majority of them, they come from Esau, the Edomites, and they hate Jacob. They hate you so-called blacks, the first and foremost, the so-called, the Southern Kingdom, so-called blacks. They hate you predominantly. And then it's the rest of the tribes, so-called Latinos, Native Americans, Hispanics, so they hate you. And there's not no change in them. So we're going to go right into it. We're going to get a few scriptures and then close it. But this is why we continue, because it's true. The doctrine is true. So we're going to keep teaching and bringing out the same precepts. If you don't like it, get the fuck on. Don't click on the goddamn video. Move the fuck around, nigga. So we're gonna get Jeremiah real quick. 13. I passed it. 13. Cause it ain't no change in them. You niggas that like the shuck and jive and Sambo, y'all gonna get some of the most horrific deaths, because even at the time to come, since y'all don't have the wisdom and knowledge of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, when it's all out division and you for your people, y'all are gonna have some horrible deaths, because guess who y'all gonna run to? Y'all can't come back. Y'all can't come to your people. Well, that's if you even an Israelite, because a lot of you niggas is tares, So when y'all go to Esau Edom, they gonna really fuck you up. They're gonna really fuck you up, especially if you're not one of them. Because really, it ain't a color thing, but to some of them it really is, But a lot of them, they got so-called black and Hispanic kids, but guess what? They're not Israelites. They might look like one, but if they come from an Edomite, they're of that lineage. So Jeremiah 13 and 23, it says, "Can the Ethiopian change his skin, or the leopard his spots? Then may ye also do good that are accustomed to do evil." So they're prone to do evil, and especially unto the Israelites. And then the rest of the other nations, the brown nations, the rest of the other brown nations, and then unto his own people. He's evil unto himself. So how can he do good? Look at how he's fucking up his own people with the chemicals in the food, so on and so forth. So he's accustomed to do evil. Ain't no doing good for him. Like how it says in that Sirach, talking about the looking, his rust ain't been wiped away. Roughly paraphrasing. Anyway, let's keep going, because I wanted to get something else. Oh, let me get this Amos 1. The same precepts, you're going to hear the same precepts, because day by day, we're entering closer into Jacob versus Esau, the finale. Jacob's trouble, which, let me get that. Jeremiah 30 and 7. It says, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. He is the elect, the 1/3, the ones that come back, that turn back to the Lord. Those are the ones that's going to be saved. The rest of the nation, they're most likely going to die. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. But the 2/3, not 2/3, the 1/3, they're going to make it out because they turn back to their power. They turn back to who they were, you know, we are the Israelites. Being an Israelite isn't something you can cut on then cut off whenever you want to. Or no, if you leave a camp, you still have to. Well, hold on now. Let me rephrase that. If you get kicked out for teaching wayward doctrine, it's best to pray to the Lord that He'll take that spirit off you, that demon off of you, and that you'll start back teaching the correct doctrine. Because we'll have slip ups, not like that. We ain't gonna teach that all nations gonna be saved and shit like that. We ain't doing that. And that's a heavy demon that's upon our people. But what do the other nations need to be saved from? This ain't happening to them. What they need to be saved from? They live good. They got nice houses and shit. They can get the loans when they come over here. What they need to be saved from? Now, the nations that come over here and they end up in the hood and so forth, well, most likely those are Israelites. Because Israel is going to have it rough. A lot of Israelites are able to make it out. The curses are falling upon our enemies. So Jake is doing all right. Even in the times today, Jake is doing all right. And we used to the hardship. So yeah, not every nigga is going to be in the hood and so on and so forth. But for a vast majority, even the other nations, because the thing is, the other nations, they get loans and shit, food stamps when they come over here. And when I say other nations, I'm not talking about no Latinos and Hispanics. I'm talking about, the so-called Arabs and, the Chinese, especially them niggas, the Japanese so-called, so on and so forth. But when they end up in the hood, and they're there, they're most likely Israelites. And really, that's how they was probably living over there in Japan. Or just say they're not in the hood, but they live in lower income places. They're not trying to make it. That's just how it's set up for them, or that's just what happened. Those are most likely Israelites because they fall under the curses of really not having nothing. Not knowing who you are. If you get to know them, you find out that they don't know their forefathers and so forth. You just know that they come from Japan and so on and so forth. That's the story of Jake. And the Lord did scatter us in all nations. So anyway, the time of Jacob's trouble is at hand. All right. And so I'm going to get this, Ephesians 5. Well, no, Salaki. Let me get this because this is what I started the lesson off with, is Isaiah 34, basically. Salaki, I'm all over the place, fighting tiredness. Let's see. Isaiah 34 and 16. It says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate. For my mouth it had commanded, and his spirit it gathered them. And so why I'm reading this? Because this is the main book. Well, it's the only book besides the Apocrypha consists of the Bible and so forth, Torah. This book is the main book that lines up with prophecy, and via this book, it has the doctrine that we're telling you, or that we teach, which is going to happen. America is going to be destroyed. That's in the Bible. Well, where does it say America at, bitch? It's Babylon the Great, the land of confusion. You got ancient Babylon, and then you have the daughter of Babylon, or mystery Babylon. That's America. No other country on earth fits that prophecy except for America. So that's America. World War III is going to happen. Ding, ding, ding. Ring the bell, bitch. It's happening. World War II is in the Bible. World War I. You know, Alexander the Great, all these different prominent figures in history are in the scriptures. It's in the Bible. So this is the only book, and no other book can compare to this. You know, niggas always used to come up to the apostles and other brothers, us. What version you reading? Don't matter about the fucking version. It's the King James original. Even if you switch it, well, sometimes the other translations go off, but still, you know, a lot of the other translations, it lines up with prophecy. That doesn't change. No matter what version you try to get, you try to swing it this way. No, the Lord, his words don't change. Man tried to change them. But as far as like the prophecies and so forth, no, that doesn't change. So ain't no comparing to the Bible. You know, and then it said, none shall want her mate, for her mouth, I mean, not her, sloppy, for my mouth it had commanded, and his spirit it gathered them. So via us using this book, which is for the Israelites, teaching the true doctrine, you know, the Lord is waking up his people. You know, the 1/3, of course, the 2/3 is waking up for judgment, you know, or to repent, because some gonna repent. You know, really there would be a 1/3, you know. But the Lord is using this book via his prophets, or using his prophets, you know, to read this book and to tell and to gather his people. That's how they're being gathered. That's what it means by it had gathered them, right? And then two, the heathen, they being gathered up to be told about their judgment. That's in Isaiah 34 at the beginning. Yep, that's in Isaiah 34 at the beginning. You know, so we don't have nothing for you heathen except for judgment. And Esau, he got to get it because, you know, he's continuing the captivity. He's continuing, you know, the punishment. And so, that's Ezekiel 35. I think it's Ezekiel 35. 30. Yeah. Where is it at? It says, yeah, Ezekiel 35. It says vengeance on Edom. This ain't happened yet. The Edomites, they rule, they rule the world, starting with Amalek. Those small hats over there in the land, they claim that they us, you know. So anyway, it says, let me get the main point. It says, let's start at 4. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord, because thou hast because thou hast had a perpetual hatred or a continual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. So hold on. Lamentations 4. And our iniquities is at an end. Lamentations 4. That's the thing. Hold on. Lamentations 4 right here. 21 says, rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and thou shalt make thyself naked. So all that you've done is being seen, is being known. The lies and shit, certain stuff you try to cover up, everything is being exposed. Hell, coming to the realization about who you really are. Y'all the Edomites. You know, that veil has been broken. And this cup of punishment is going to pass on to you, and you have to pay double. It says, the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. So really the punishment is over. But like how it says in Jeremiah, you refuse to let Israel and Judah go. Israel represents the northern kingdom, so-called Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians. You know, that's Israel. And then Judah, Benjamin, Levi, the dark tribes. We're going to put it like that. Ignorant. But that's the best way to explain it for a fucking numbskull nigga. that don't know shit, or he think he knows something, and it ain't being prideful. It's just facts. When we're fucking tired of you, and it's gonna come a time and a place, where the Lord's gonna rise up His man, and the judgment's gonna happen to the 2/3 first. That's what it says. Anyway, I don't want to lose my place. Going back to damn, I done. Oh no, I got the page. Ezekiel 35:6. It says, "Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee." They don't hate blood; they love blood. They love the blood of their own. You see what them Epstein niggas was doing, or Epstein and that whole collage of niggas, because they the real niggas anyway too. You see what they were doing, doing the sacrifices. Then like how that Smile had said on that video dealing with McDonald's, they chop up the kids and serve them to you. Yeah, they really doing that. They're really doing that. And even, human DNA is in the food that we eat today. But for the elect, the 1/3, they're protected. Yeah, they eating the defiled food, but best believe the Lord's cleansing that food for them. Best believe. And you have to think like that, because you'll fucking lose it. Salaki. All right. I'm going to get 2 more verses, and then we're going to close it. We're going to get, let's get this 1 Timothy 4 real quick. I might switch it up and get something else. 1 second. No, well, let's get this Ephesians first, since we're here already. Ephesians 5:16, because you got to be circumspect. And I don't know what happened with this sister right here, but I mean, I'm guessing that she was with an Edomite. And what's crazy? Though we ain't supposed to give our daughters and shit unto them, Eve will be good to Esau Edom, and he'll still whack her. Just murder. Anyway, Ephesians 5. What was I gonna get? Was it 15? Yeah. It says, "Use your time wisely." It says, "See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil." So you got to know where you at. Check your surroundings, and really, we be worried about niggas, but really Edomites are one of the biggest problems. They talk about so-called black on black crime. Bitch, it ain't that bad. It ain't. Certain cities, it might be a little wild, but as a whole, Esau is the main one that commit violence. Going to where he going to, the In-N-Out Burger, shot that bitch up, shooting up schools and shit, doing all that. They're the problem. They're the ones that's committing the most acts of grape. Take away the G, and you understand what I'm saying. They're doing all that. Money laundering, these different wars around the world. They're the ones that's being wicked. Anyway, though, they are the wicked. That not Lamentations. Malachi. It states that they're the border of wickedness. They surpass the wickedness of the other nations. Hell, they surpass the wickedness of Jake. And then when they took over Jake, and when Jake was influenced by the wickedness that they were doing, of course, we Israelites, we perfected that wickedness. So really, a lot of shit that we do, it surpasses them. But it's only because we are around these motherfuckers. You're influenced, and that's just what it is. And we're more spiritual. But it's not going to be so for forever. So let's get this 1 Timothy 4 real quick, and I'm going to close it. Oh, hold on. All right, 1 Timothy 4. And let's see, 16. It says, "Take heed unto thyself and unto the doctrine. Continue in them, for in doing this, thou shalt both save thyself and them that hear thee. So when you teaching the right doctrine and when you stay within that doctrine, the ones that care, that listen, you know, they're able to be saved, not by you, but by the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua and be washed. Like I should have read that in that Ephesians. I believe it's in 5 also. Yeah, like 5:20 something. So they hear this word, they're able to be baptized and washed by this word. So Lord will, this was an edifying lesson. Giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Makakudash, Shalom.